well, maybe I'm not going to shift too much. I had fun doing online dating. You get to meet people, you get to have interesting conversations, and mind you, I was meeting men and women, so got to meet some very interesting people. So, and that's a part of my development, because I was never taught how to date. Never. I dated in college to survive. And I was in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Spelman. And when I got down there in 1984, they had overbooked the dorms. So I didn't have housing. So they called in the alumni to house all of us that didn't have housing. And since I was a scholarship student, they put me in one of the alumni's houses. I wasn't paying for college. I was on scholarships and grants. And mind you, I had already been emancipated too. So it wasn't like when I went to Atlanta, there was nothing to come back home to. There was nobody to come back home to. There was nobody to support me while I was in college. I went to Atlanta and I was just there. I got there and I was homeless because they put me in some crazy woman's house. I don't know who this woman is to this day. I know she was crazy and I couldn't stay with her. So I went and hid in the dorms with the girls from Detroit. In at Spelman, if you from Michigan, y'all all together. It doesn't matter where you came from. So I went here with my girls from Detroit, and they would hide me in their rooms, or I would get to, my classes were split in morning and afternoon. They let me take naps there, and the resident advisor of the dorm would let me hang out in the basement with her and watch soap operas, and and while I studied, so I'd be on campus. Now, after that ended, I had to find places to stay. So I dated men. I met some of them in church, and they wasn't asking for sex. They thought I was pretty. I never even knew I was pretty till I got to Atlanta. But I got to Atlanta, men was stopping on the street. But anyway, these men, they would provide, one of them was one of my instructors at Spelman. They would provide me a place to stay as long as I was seen in public with them. And, they would take me to the bar, sit me at the bar. They go do what they had to do. I was just there. Now I know what was going on, but back then I didn't know how to date. I thought I was dating. But actually I was a beard. I was dating men that were down low, and they needed a female to cover them while they was out. And so that's what I did, and that's how I survived. I had so many down low men that just needed a pretty girl. Well, I did have one man down there because I got pregnant. I was young and beautiful, and so men, the men just were plenty down in Atlanta at that time, and the down low men are very plenteous. And I don't got no problem with gay people. I don't have a problem. I dated a guy in school because he was gay, so he wouldn't be bullied. So that was not something that was really new to me. I say I dated a guy in school. He was just my friend, that I literally wasn't dating him because we didn't do anything. Just in school, I let him say I was his girlfriend. We didn't do anything. I was just covering him. And so when I got to college, that experience wasn't foreign to me, but I didn't know what was going on. But I had been with, I had spent time with men where it was not about sex or anything like that. And, you know, with a down low man, you don't really have to have sex with them. And these men had money. And I needed a place to live. That don't mean I wasn't knocking boots, though. I wasn't knocking boots with them. I was just living with them. Like, I had a place close to my job. The guy, like, I never had to worry about it. I could be close to my job, which was on Camp Creek and I-275. It was a hotel. I could be close to my job and stay there. And if I didn't stay with him, there were guys on my job, you know, that knew where I was, how I was living. And, you know, sometimes they would let me crash at their places, you know. I did it for about a year. No, I didn't. I hustled in the dorm for a semester. Then I realized there was no way I was going to survive if I didn't get a job. So I started working. I dropped out of school and started working. And I was working on transferring from Spelman to Georgia Tech. I didn't like Spelman. I like Spelman as like a sorority sisterhood thing, but I just didn't. Well, you know, shit. I was fucking. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. My teachers, they all was predators. So no, I didn't want to be there because, you know, I had already taken down a teacher. I took down my French teacher to pass my class. Look, I'm being this was life. Anyway, I'm having fun. I'm going home today.